Three sisters and a friend from Scarborough acted more like a feral gang than actually family when they launched a brutal and vicious attack on an innocent woman, and now they have learnt a very valuable lesson after being jailed. So treacherous and diabolical and heinous was the incident that the victim was left with a broken eye socket and also a bleed and bruising on the brain. She was also blinded in one eye. Now, the court heard on the date of the one-sided incident on October 23rd of 2023, 20-year-old Ellie Patterson and her sister, 32-year-old Toni Patterson, along with the third sister, 19-year-old Abbie Patterson, and a friend had all met up in Scarborough City. The plan was to go for a few drinks and have a ladies' night out, decompress. So the group of women had walked to Chaplin's bar on St. Thomas Street. However, the Patterson women had already built up a reputation, a bad one, of drinking too much and also causing trouble. So when the door staff noticed Ellie Patterson trying to walk into Chaplin's bar, she was refused entry immediately. Her entry was blocked off. Now Ellie asked why, and she didn't ask it in a pleasing tone. It was more like a demanding one, and she was reminded that she had previously been barred due to another incident with door staff. Ellie, Toni, and Abbie did not respond well to not being let inside, and they began to rant and shout and wave their hands in front of the bouncer's face, swearing at the bouncers also, and demanding to be let in. Still, the bouncers declined. Now, the Patterson sisters had now turned away, but they were still seething, seeing red. CCTV captured the sisters stomping down the street unsteady on their wide feet as they walked. At 1:30 a.m. on October 23rd of 2023, one of the sisters took their anger out and pent-up frustration out on a street sign and then booted it over. This was where the victim entered the picture. A 52-year-old woman, whom was not known to the group of Patterson sisters, had seen one of the sisters boot the street sign. Now, rather than just walk away and mind their own business, the victim commented on the sisters' actions, words to the effect of, "Have some respect, pick it back up." These words were murmured. However, the Patterson sisters' hair stood up on the back of their neck, and the sisters, already angry at not being able to go into Chaplin's bar, they were now ready for a scrap. Despite the victim being old enough to be their mum, Toni Patterson, Abbie Patterson, and Ellie Patterson had quickly closed the distance between themselves and the older victim. After a brief exchange of words, the victim was unprepared to what would happen next. The Patterson sisters had darted forward, quick, agile, and with a quick hand, they had wrapped their hand around clumps of the victim's hair, digging deep. They wrapped it over and over and over again. While some pulled on the hair, others struck the victim, and target areas was the face, back of the neck, cheek, jaw, shoulder. Stunned, the witnesses had rushed over and attempted to separate the Patterson sisters and the 52-year-old victim, who was on the losing end severely. The victim's partner also tried to force their way between the two groups. Now, so feral was Abbie, Toni, and Ellie that they knocked the woman to the ground and then began to land a booting, heavy and thick, stomp, 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 head making contact with the cold, hard ground. Now, even when the victim fell into an unconscious state, the Patterson sisters did not stop. At the very least, it was Ellie Patterson and Toni Patterson that had caused the most damage. They wanted to cause serious harm to the victim, and at the most wanted to see red or even K, all because their pride and ego had been dented. Now, the Pattersons' friends, Tanya Stott, who was inside the club at the start of the brawl, then came outside, and she just saw her friends swarming the victim when the victim was on the ground. Tanya rushed over. She did not ask any questions. She went straight into scrap mode too, and then booted the unconscious victim. Now, it was Abbie Patterson, the youngest sister. She was the only one who had a semblance of common sense, because when Tanya Stott caused more injuries to the victim, Abbie tried to intervene, pull her sisters and Tanya off the victim. Of course, members of the public called 999 and police and ambulance crew were requested. Now, police and ambulance then blue lighted to the scene while the sisters tried to control their tempers. Now, the victim was given emergency care right there and then before she was put in the back of an ambulance and then rushed off to hospital. When doctors assessed the victim's injuries, they noted that the victim had suffered serious harm, which caused bruising and bleeding on the brain, broken eye socket, and severe injuries to the right eye, which meant that the victim could no longer move it up nor down. Again, the victim was already blinded in one eye. The victim, who worked as a carer and often looked after her grandchildren, was unable to do her job. She was left with PTSD and also scared to go outside, and she suffered with her vision now. She also says that she had missed the person that she used to be. Now, when the sisters were questioned by police after being arrested, they apologised for their actions and also explained that a family loss meant that their emotional state was heightened, and that's why they became unhinged and acted off the cuff. York Crown Court heard that the three Patterson sisters had both lost their mum and grandmother during lockdown, which greatly affected them. They hadn't dealt with the loss. They also masked their grief with music and drink and sought to distract themselves with dealing with the losses of important family members. The court was also told that Toni Patterson, who was a mum of 2 children, and they greatly depended on their mum, and a prison sentence would greatly affect her children's stable home life. Meanwhile, it was also revealed that at the time of the brawl, Tanya Stott was 7 weeks pregnant and already had a son whom had very serious development challenges, disabilities. So why Tanya decided to go out clubbing and why she decided to leave the club and then join in with her pals and begin to stomp and boot the victim when 1, she had no idea what caused the situation to reach boiling point, and 2, she didn't question who was in the right and who was in the wrong, and 3, she was pregnant and had children that needed looking after. Beggars belief. As a mom, you're supposed to have developed patience, understanding, and a nurturing attitude, and also be accommodating. However, Toni, Ellie, and Tanya and Abbie, to a degree, had all acted as if they were animals, beasts. Now, before the judge sentenced the depraved and dangerous Patterson sisters and a friend to jail, he had a few select words in his closing statement. The victim had been physically damaged for life, mentally scarred, the judge says. The judge added that while he acknowledged that Abbie Patterson had at times tried to stop the others from ensuing more damage to the victim, she also had at times lent verbal support to the group by egging them on. Now, speaking after the women were sentenced, Officer Paul Thompson from North Yorkshire Police says that there was simply no excuse whatsoever for their actions. The very least they could do was plead guilty to this disgusting act and of unprovoked violence, they says. The police also applauded the victim for their bravery, and of course now the 4 women are now rightly facing the consequences of their actions and behaviour. 20-year-old Ellie Patterson and 32-year-old Toni Patterson each admitted GBH and affray. Their sister, 19-year-old Abbie Patterson, who is the youngest, and a friend, 35-year-old Tanya Stott, each admitted affray for their involvement in the incident. Again, the victim was 51 years old and they was unknown to the group. And at York Crown Court, Toni Patterson was jailed for 8 years. Remember, she's a mum of 2. Ellie Patterson was sentenced to 7 years and 3 months in a YO institute. Tanya Stott was jailed for a year. Meanwhile, the youngest person, Abbie Patterson, was given a 4-month prison sentence, which has been suspended for 18 months. Does the crime match the sentence? Let me know. Stay safe.